Welcome, beautiful Sigma ladies. When a lioness senses danger, she doesn't roar. She disappears into the tall grass and watches. Sigma females are the same. They don't explode, they don't panic, they calculate. And if you're not paying attention, you'll mistake their silence for surrender, when in fact it's the calm before a psychological storm. Fact. Studies show that women who exhibit high emotional intelligence and independent traits tend to respond to perceived threats with strategic withdrawal rather than direct confrontation. Translation: Sigma females don't fight to be seen. They choose when to vanish and when to strike. But here's what makes them terrifyingly fascinating. They won't throw tantrums. They'll disarm you with eerie calm. They'll leave the battlefield before you realize there was one. And if you really push them, they'll unleash a version of themselves you were never meant to meet, the one built for survival, not sympathy. So buckle up, because today we're diving deep into what really happens when a Sigma female feels threatened. And spoiler alert, it's not something you'll learn in therapy or on TikTok. Number 1. She becomes unrecognizably formal. When a Sigma female feels threatened, one of the first things she does is shift her tone into something shockingly formal. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, it's controlled, icy, and precise, like someone flipping off the emotional switch and pulling out a legal document mid-conversation. You could be joking, venting, even attacking. And suddenly she replies with the kind of tone you'd expect from a courtroom, not a living room. Her words become measured, her pauses become intentional, and her eyes? Unreadable. It's unsettling because just moments ago she might have been warm, playful, even vulnerable. Then suddenly, you're speaking to a version of her that feels stripped of humanity. No slang, no softness, just sentences that hit like closing doors. And that shift isn't accidental. It's a line in the sand. She's letting you know you've crossed into a space where emotion is no longer the currency. Logic is. Distance is. Control is. This isn't about being passive-aggressive. This is about reclaiming power without needing to raise her voice. She doesn't want to be understood in that moment. She wants to make it crystal clear that your behavior has triggered a change in her operating system. Her formality isn't fake. It's a protective shell that keeps your chaos from touching her core. Every word becomes deliberate, like a chess move. She's not speaking to resolve the situation. She's documenting it in her mind. What makes it even more unnerving is that people rarely see it coming, because Sigma females are masters of blending in, being relatable, and making others feel safe, until they no longer do. That abrupt shift into cold formality can feel like being emotionally locked out of your own home. You start second-guessing yourself. Was I being disrespectful? Did I cross a line? And while you're scrambling to decode her new tone, she's already decided how much access you'll have moving forward. This version of her doesn't ask for apologies, it doesn't explain itself, it doesn't argue. It simply adjusts its level of vulnerability based on what you've just revealed. And once that formality sets in, getting back to the version of her you knew, that's a door most people never get to reopen. Number 2, she disassembles her warm persona like armor. When a Sigma female feels genuinely threatened, she doesn't react with chaos. She removes the version of herself you once had access to. And she does it with terrifying precision. That easygoing, warm presence, that version who smiled, asked how your day was, laughed at your dry jokes, and made space for your mess, gone. Not hidden, dismantled. It's not a tantrum, it's a shutdown. She disassembles her warmth the way a soldier removes armor, strategically, piece by piece. Only in this case, you're the threat she's protecting herself from. The version of her you thought was consistent, soft-spoken, understanding, emotionally present, was never a performance. It was a gift, one she gave freely until you made her feel like her softness was now a liability. And the moment that switch flips, you're not dealing with the nurturing soul anymore. You're dealing with the core version of her, the one that doesn't flinch, doesn't comfort, and doesn't explain itself. What makes it hit harder is how fast it happens. One day you're laughing, connected, maybe even thinking she's the safest person in your life. The next, her tone flattens, her eyes dim, and her responses become functional. No more enthusiasm, no more emotional cushions. You don't get the shoulder, you don't get the safe zone. You get the cold hallway outside the fortress, and the door is locked. This isn't emotional manipulation, it's self-preservation. She's learned that in a world full of emotional predators, softness is often mistaken for submission. And once someone makes her feel unsafe, her nervous system doesn't go into fight or flight, it goes into delete and detach. She's not trying to punish you, she's showing you the cost of ignoring the value of emotional access. The real sting? She doesn't need to announce the change. There are no dramatic exits or loud speeches. She simply becomes unreachable in the most terrifyingly calm way possible. And the more you try to reach the version she retired, the more you realize you were talking to someone who chose to show up for you. And now, she's gone. Not missing. Just no longer available in that form. Number 3, she mirrors you, but only to dissect you. When a Sigma female feels threatened, she might start mirroring you, but not for harmony and definitely not for bonding. It's not empathy, it's intel gathering. She'll subtly begin matching your tone, your energy, maybe even your facial expressions or word choices, but it's not to get closer, it's to decode you. She's mapping your psychological architecture, watching which words you emphasize, how your face shifts under pressure, where your logic slips, and what your ego clings to. She's not reacting emotionally. She's studying behaviorally. You think you're in a conversation. She's in a lab, and you just became the experiment. She'll match your sarcasm, your fake calm, your aggressive optimism, just to see how much of it is real. The moment she reflects it back, she's watching for cracks. She's gauging how stable your mask is and whether you even know you're wearing one. Most people don't notice it's happening because it feels familiar at first, like she's just like you. But that's the trap. What unnerves people is the realization that she's not mirroring you to flatter your identity. She's doing it to dissect it, gently pulling your personality apart piece by piece, while maintaining just enough engagement to keep you talking. Every little inconsistency, every performative habit, every emotional leak, you're handing it all over without realizing it. And here's the twist. She's not doing it to attack you. She's doing it to prepare. If she feels threatened, she wants full awareness of what you're capable of, what motivates you, what rattles you, and most importantly, what you're trying to hide. It's her way of saying, if I need to neutralize you, I'll know exactly how. So while you're throwing around charm, manipulation, passive aggression, or power games, she's playing psychological chess under the surface. And by the time you realize what she's doing, it's already too late, because now she's the one holding your emotional blueprint, and you're still bluffing with a cracked mask. Number 4, she stops breathing for you emotionally. When a Sigma female feels threatened, she doesn't argue, beg, or try to fix the emotional weather. She simply stops breathing for you emotionally, quietly, instantly, without warning. You won't notice it right away. She'll still be in the room, still making eye contact, still responding. But something's missing. That unseen thing you relied on without knowing. Her emotional oxygen. The way she used to cushion your insecurity, fill in your blanks, soften your sharpness, and make space for your storms. Gone, not reduced. Shut off. You're left in a strange vacuum. She's no longer emotionally translating you to yourself. She's not filling awkward silences with reassurance. She's not catching your emotional falls before they hit the floor. And suddenly, your ego feels naked, exposed without its usual support system. You begin to feel unsteady, and you can't figure out why. But it's simple. She used to breathe emotional life into the connection. Now she doesn't. This is her silent rebellion. No outburst, no confrontation, just a subtle but complete withdrawal of empathy. It's her way of saying, you've used up the air I was willing to give you. And the most brutal part? She won't announce it. There's no speech, no closure, no dramatic goodbye, just a new reality where you're emotionally on your own. You might try to provoke her warmth back, crack a joke, offer an apology, play the victim, but none of it works. She's not cold because she's heartless. She's cold because you became unsafe. And continuing to pour energy into your emotional comfort would now be a betrayal of her own boundaries. People don't realize how much air a Sigma female provides until she stops. It's not just affection, It's emotional regulation. And when she stops breathing for you, you're left gasping in your own emotional atmosphere, trying to figure out how it all went dead so fast. The scariest part, she'll still be polite, still look you in the eye, still respond with logic. But that deep, soul-level connection you once felt, it's gone. And you'll feel that absence every time you speak, because now you're just talking into a sealed room. Number 5. She disassembles her warm persona like armor. When a Sigma female feels genuinely threatened, she doesn't scream, lash out, or fall apart. She does something far more disorienting. She takes herself back. Piece by piece, with calm precision, she disassembles her warm persona like it was never real. And that's what hits hardest. You thought that version of her, the kind, light-hearted, emotionally available woman, was permanent. It wasn't. It was access, and access can be revoked. One moment she's meeting you with softness, warmth, and empathy. The next it's like a mask falls off. Not a fake one, but a protective one she wore for you. Now she's emotionless, unreadable, almost unrecognizable. She doesn't do this for drama, she does it for self-preservation. Because when she senses real threat, emotional, psychological, or spiritual, her survival instincts don't scream. They delete. The shift is jarring. You'll feel like you're talking to someone who no longer remembers who you are. But it's not amnesia. It's intentional disengagement. She's pulling her energy out of your hands, reclaiming every ounce of emotional labor she used to offer you freely. She no longer laughs to ease tension. She doesn't offer support. She stops being safe. And in that silence, you'll feel the full weight of how much she used to carry. What makes it brutal is the lack of theatrics. There's no scene, no warning, just a clean extraction. One day, she was emotionally feeding the room. The next, she's stone. And if you try to force your way back into that warmth, you'll realize it wasn't just a mood. It was a version of her that no longer exists for you. This isn't punishment. It's a boundary. A Sigma female doesn't wait to be broken. She senses the crack in the foundation and withdraws before the collapse. And once she's stripped away the persona that made you feel comfortable, what you're left with is her unfiltered core, sharp, clear, untouchable, not cruel, just unavailable. That's what people don't understand. Her warmth isn't her default. It's her gift. And once you make her feel unsafe, she won't weaponize emotion. She'll remove it. And once it's gone, you don't just lose her affection. You lose the version of reality where she cared. Number 6. She adopts an inhuman level of composure. When a Sigma female feels threatened, she doesn't flinch, panic, or react the way most people expect. Instead, she drops into a level of composure that doesn't even feel human. Everything in her face goes still, her body language tightens, her voice becomes quiet and measured, and suddenly, she's not emotional, she's surgical. It's not calm in the peaceful sense, it's clinical. Detached, focused, like something inside her flips from human warmth to operational mode. Her mind starts moving 10 steps ahead, assessing risk, scanning motives, calculating outcomes. And while most people get loud or frantic under pressure, she becomes unsettlingly still, like a sniper holding their breath before the shot. You might mistake it for indifference. It's not. It's pre-war clarity. It's the quiet before the precision strike. Her lack of reaction isn't passivity, it's strategy. She's mentally categorizing your behavior, filing it under threat, and running every possible consequence before deciding if you're worth responding to at all. Every second of her silence is doing work. You just can't see it. That's what throws people off. Because before she might have been expressive, engaged, maybe even playful. But now, she's reduced her energy to pure logic. No wasted movement, no emotional leakage. She won't give you panic, anger, or tears. She'll give you neutrality so cold it feels like a verdict. The truth is, she's been here before. She's learned that reacting emotionally when threatened is often a trap, used against her, flipped on her, or dismissed entirely. So now her instinct is the opposite, to quiet every noise, still every muscle, and let the silence make you uncomfortable instead. And that silence, it's not empty. It's the sound of her switching from connection to protection, from softness to strategy, from let's work this out to I see you clearly now, and I'm adjusting accordingly. By the time you realize she's in that mode, it's already too late. Because once she reaches that inhuman level of composure, she's not trying to fix anything. She's preparing to walk away, calm, detached, and absolutely certain. Number 7, she stops translating herself for the room. When a Sigma female feels threatened, she stops softening herself to make others feel comfortable. She stops translating. No more watered-down language, no more sugar-coated opinions, no more pretending she didn't notice the passive aggression or manipulation in the room. She lets her full, unfiltered self speak, and when she does, the energy shifts instantly. She no longer plays relatable. She doesn't bother hiding how sharp her mind is, how intense her presence is, or how deep her perception runs. She stops cushioning her brilliance to keep insecure people from feeling small. She stops laughing at jokes that aren't funny just to keep the peace. She stops explaining herself in simpler terms just to avoid being labeled too much. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Her raw self alienates the weak without her even trying. People start squirming. The ones who relied on her emotional labor to make themselves feel intelligent, important, or included suddenly feel exposed. Because now she's not holding back, and her presence becomes a mirror they can't control. This isn't arrogance, it's liberation. She's not trying to dominate the room. She's just done editing herself for the comfort of people who wouldn't do the same for her. When threatened, she reclaims every part of herself she previously filtered for the sake of diplomacy. And that reclaims her power in real time. People who were once drawn to her warmth and openness suddenly feel like they don't recognize her. But the truth is, they never knew this version. They only knew the version she toned down to keep things running smoothly. Now, she's letting her full vocabulary, intellect, and energy show, and she's not asking for permission. The ones who can handle it will lean in. The rest will label her as cold, intense, difficult, or intimidating, and she won't care, because for her, the moment she felt threatened was the moment she stopped trying to be palatable. And when a Sigma female drops the performance, the room either levels up or clears out. Number 8. She turns her humor into psychological warfare. When a Sigma female feels threatened, she doesn't raise her voice or throw cheap shots. She reaches for something far more dangerous, her humor. But this isn't the charming, light-hearted wit people are used to. No, this is weaponized brilliance, disguised as laughter, and it's deadly. She won't insult you directly. That's too obvious, too emotional. Instead, she'll deliver a perfectly timed line that slices through the room like a blade dipped in velvet. A joke, a smirk, a casual remark, crafted with surgical precision. And the message underneath it is always the same. You thought this would shake me. Please. Her humor becomes a mirror held up to your ego. It exposes your desperation, your arrogance, your performance, without her ever breaking a sweat. And the terrifying part? Everyone hears the joke, but only a few feel the hit. It's not loud, it's not cruel, it's subtle, icy, disarming. You'll catch the smile, but miss the message until it's too late. She'll make a comment about someone trying really hard to be the smartest person in the room while looking dead in your direction. She'll make light of the tension you created, but in a way that puts you on blast without ever raising the temperature. It's elegance meets execution, and she's not doing this to entertain. She's doing it to reclaim psychological ground. In a room where others might posture or dominate through noise, she slices through nonsense with clever detachment. She doesn't need to overpower you. She just needs to show you she's not playing the same game. She's already above it. People often mistake her sarcasm for flirtation, or her wit for friendliness. But when she feels cornered, her humor becomes a defense system with a kill switch. Every laugh is calibrated, every jab is cloaked in grace, and the ones who feel the burn are the ones who tried to test her. By the time you realize she wasn't joking, you've already exposed yourself, and all she had to do was smile. Number 9. She disengages from group dynamics completely. When a Sigma female feels threatened, one of the most chilling shifts you'll witness is her complete disengagement from group dynamics. She doesn't storm out, she doesn't cause a scene, she simply opts out without saying a word. The energy she used to pour into reading the room, adapting her tone, making others feel seen, or even just keeping things smooth, gone. She no longer adjusts her volume to match the vibe. She no longer nods along to conversations she doesn't respect. She stops performing social grace like it's her job, and the room feels it instantly. She's still there physically, but her spirit has detached. She becomes something like a ghost in the crowd, present but untouchable. People will talk around her, at her, even to her, but the emotional presence that once anchored the group is no longer available. She doesn't engage in the subtle games of group approval. She doesn't laugh to keep things light. She doesn't comfort egos or play along with fake unity. She's done. It's not rudeness. It's refusal. She's refusing to offer energy to a space that's proven unsafe. Whether the threat came from betrayal, disrespect, manipulation, or something more subtle, once she identifies it, she withdraws. Not just from the source, but from the entire structure. Because to her, fake peace is worse than open tension. Her withdrawal isn't obvious to everyone. To some, she still looks calm, maybe just quiet today. But to those with emotional awareness, her detachment is unmistakable. It's like the heart of the gathering just dimmed its light. She stops making eye contact unless it's necessary. She listens, but doesn't absorb. And the difference is brutal. Because when a Sigma female checks out, it's not temporary. It's calculated. It means she's already decided this space no longer deserves her emotional bandwidth. Some might call her aloof. Some will accuse her of being cold or antisocial. But what they're really experiencing is the loss of her emotional labor. The warmth, the intuition, the silent glue that once held the dynamic together. It's no longer being offered. And once she disengages, no amount of surface-level chatter can bring her back. You're talking to her shell. The core, it's long gone. Number 10. She scans for weak links and begins emotional extraction. When a Sigma female feels threatened in a space full of manipulators, she doesn't panic or retreat. She begins a silent, strategic extraction. She knows she's outnumbered or being played, so she switches into a mode that's colder than revenge and smarter than resistance. She starts scanning the environment, not for power players, but for emotional bottlenecks, the ones quietly holding the room together. She identifies the people others unconsciously lean on for validation, comfort, or control. These aren't always the loudest voices. Sometimes it's the fake peacemaker, the emotional babysitter, the covert manipulator dressed in empathy, the one others turn to for cues on how to react or who to side with. She sees them clearly, even when they hide behind charm or false humility. And once she sees the structure, she doesn't go after the whole group. That would be loud, predictable. Instead, she targets the key figures whose emotional presence props up the rest. She studies their patterns, exposes their contradictions subtly, and starts dismantling their influence with surgical calm. She won't yell or accuse. She'll ask questions they can't answer without revealing their game. She'll spotlight their inconsistency so effortlessly that others start to doubt them without even knowing why. Her goal isn't to destroy, it's to unplug the system. She knows that in toxic groups, control flows through emotional dependencies. Break the link, and the structure collapses on its own. So while everyone else is busy playing dominance games, she's executing a silent coup, removing the emotional anchors that make the manipulative dynamic possible. And what's terrifying is how calm she is while doing it. She smiles, she listens, she nods, but beneath the surface, she's already rewriting the social architecture. And when she's done, the room feels off balance. The group can't find its rhythm. People start questioning alliances. Tension rises, and no one knows where it started, except her. That's the Sigma female's quiet vengeance. She doesn't fight the system. She rewires it from within. And by the time they realize what she's done, their influence is gone, their control is fractured, and the game is over. Number 11. She doesn't seek revenge. She becomes your irreversible absence. When a Sigma female feels deeply threatened or betrayed, she doesn't plot revenge. She doesn't scheme, scream, or burn bridges in public. She does something far more devastating. She disappears so completely, it feels like a spiritual amputation. She becomes your absence, not just in body, but in presence, energy, warmth, and memory. And that void? It never fills the way you expect it to. You don't get closure. You don't get that final argument or heart-to-heart. She doesn't deliver a monologue or write a long goodbye text. She just vanishes, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. The version of her that loved you, supported you, gave you grace or space no longer exists. It's not a break, it's a deletion, a total erasure of emotional access. And what haunts people the most is that she doesn't hate you. She's not obsessed with making you feel what she felt. She's not watching your stories, hoping you miss her. She's not trying to prove her worth post-exit. She's simply gone. And in her absence, everything becomes clear. How much she carried, how much she shielded, how deeply she showed up in quiet, uncelebrated ways. You remember the emotional insulation she provided, the psychological clarity she brought into chaos, the kind of connection that didn't need attention to be real. But now there's just static. Conversations that feel hollow, laughter that doesn't land, rooms that feel cold even if they're crowded. Because what you lost wasn't just a person, it was the gravity she brought. The groundedness, the non-verbal reassurance, the depth that's nearly impossible to replace, and you'll never get a redo. Because once a Sigma female realizes she's not safe in your presence, she removes herself like she was never there. And what's left isn't bitterness, it's nothing. Just a clean break, a cold silence, a missing energy that makes everything else feel thinner. People expect rage, they expect drama. What they don't expect is the kind of vanishing that makes them question if they ever really knew her at all. But that's her final move. She doesn't seek revenge. She becomes the thing you can't touch, can't fix, and can't forget. Her absence becomes your unhealed scar. Number 12. She treats you like a stranger, even if you were her soulmate yesterday. When a Sigma female feels genuinely threatened, especially by someone she once trusted deeply, her emotional shift is so precise, it's surgical. She doesn't lash out. She doesn't collapse. She simply erases the intimacy you once shared. And the most chilling part, she does it without warning. One day, you were her safe space, her confidant, the one she let into her internal world. And then suddenly she's looking at you like a stranger who just walked in unannounced. There's no rage, no heartbreak speech, just this eerie detachment, as if her emotional memory got wiped clean. She doesn't even flinch when your name comes up. There's no trace of familiarity in her tone, no soft edge in her eyes, only evaluation. She's not pretending, she's recalibrating. You broke the contract, spoken or unspoken, and now you're being reassessed like a threat in human form. The version of her that once gave you access, laughed at your private jokes and saw your flaws with love, that version is gone. She doesn't hate you. She just no longer remembers you emotionally. She remembers the facts, but the feeling, deleted. This isn't coldness for the sake of pride, it's protection. Sigma females don't tolerate betrayal, not because they're dramatic, but because their trust is sacred. If she let you in, it meant something. If you shattered that space, she won't give you a warning shot. She'll withdraw her entire presence, as if the emotional connection never existed. And that's what leaves people stunned. You think you can talk your way back in. You think a sincere apology or explanation will crack her shell. But it doesn't, because she's not upset in a way that seeks comfort. She's made peace with the loss, you just didn't know it yet. Now when you speak, she listens like she's gathering data. No softness, no shared history, just quiet analysis. And the more you try to reach for the past, the more obvious it becomes. She's already archived you. You're no longer part of her inner map. You're just another dot she's choosing to walk around. When a Sigma female feels threatened, she doesn't explode. She evolves. She doesn't scream, she recalibrates. What the world often mislabels as cold or overreacting is actually precision. It's not a mood, it's a mechanism. A defense system built from years of being misread, underestimated, and emotionally extracted. She doesn't weaponize emotion, she removes it. She doesn't argue to be heard, she silences herself to be understood without speaking. Every move she makes when threatened is calculated, not chaotic. Whether she's dismantling her warmth, reflecting your truth back to you, or detaching from toxic group dynamics, she's not trying to win you over anymore. She's reclaiming her space, quietly, ruthlessly, permanently. What makes her terrifying to manipulators is simple. She doesn't fight dirty, she simply stops playing. No closure, no theatrics. Just a sudden emotional blackout that forces people to feel the weight of her absence. And unlike most, she doesn't need to be remembered. But she will be. Because once she leaves, the space doesn't feel the same again. So if you've ever experienced a Sigma female pulling away, Understand this. She didn't become cold. She became clear. If this content resonated with you, don't just scroll away. Show some love. Like this video if you felt the truth hit. Comment below and tell us which point left your jaw on the floor. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss another deep dive into the psychology of the Sigma. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. Trust me, they'll thank you later. This isn't just content, it's clarity. Welcome to the channel where silence speaks louder than noise and power doesn't need to scream. Stay sharp, stay elusive, stay unapologetically you.